Hi everyone, my name is Monique, and today I'm going to be showing you how to play a game that is currently on Kickstarter called Wondrous Creatures. In this game, you are an adventurer who discovers a strange new island filled with mysterious creatures while lost at sea. Your goal is to build a creature reserve by collecting resources and playing creature cards that provide a wide range of abilities and help you score various achievements. The game plays 1 to 4 players. It's designed by Yeom.C.W, fully illustrated by Sophia Kang, and published by Bad Comet, who are helping sponsor this video. And so today, I'm going to be showing you how to play it. But before I begin, I do need to mention that everything that you see here is considered a prototype copy of the game, which means things are subject to change in the future. For more information regarding the game, I've included a link to their Kickstarter in the description below. Last but not least, if you enjoy content like this and would like to see more in the future, please consider subscribing. And with that, we are ready to begin. So if you'd please direct your attention to the center of the table, we're all set up here for a 3-player game of Wondrous Creatures. Welcome to this mysterious island. Now, like I was mentioning earlier, in this game, players play as a slightly asymmetric adventurer who gets lost at sea. And so here we have the protector of nature, Hawa, the unruly adventurer, Kabo, and the ever-bountiful Marie. Each player also has their own personal player board that houses their achievement tokens, which are used to complete the various achievements, and also keeps track of the various resources in the game, such as the eggs, which will go on your own personal egg tracker, as well as the 4 different types of resources that you can acquire and use to spend in order to play creature cards. In addition, players also start with 2 butterfly net tokens, as well as their crew, which consists of 3 of their own personal style crew token, as well as their crew captain, which is a meeple that is actually connected to one of their crew members via a magnet. And this meeple specifically represents the unruly adventurer. Each type of adventurer in the game comes with their own custom meeple. Now in this game, players are competing to build their own personal reserve of creature cards. Players start the game with 4 creature cards in their hand, and over the course of the game, you'll have the opportunity to acquire more of them. But let's just go ahead and take a look at the anatomy of a creature card. All of the creature cards in this game are uniquely illustrated, and so here we have Pufferon. Now, in order to play a creature card to my reserve, I will have to pay a certain amount of resources, which is indicated on the left side of the card, which in the case of Pufferon are 2 fruits and 2 corals. Now, playing a creature card to my reserve will also grant me a specific activation ability. Some of them activate immediately, such as in the case of Pufferon over here, and we'll discuss the various types of activation abilities later. In addition, at the end of the game, each creature in your reserve will be worth a certain amount of endgame points, indicated by the red seal, which in this case is 2 points. Creatures also belong to one of 4 different types of habitats, as well as 1 or 2 different types of species. And so Pufferon over here is from the coral habitat and is of the mammal species. And the species type will be very important for completing these various species achievements. And so the way that the game works is players will be taking turns clockwise, taking 1 basic action each, as well as any number of free actions until the game ends. In this game, there are 4 different types of basic actions that you can take, but again, on your turn, you're only taking 1. The first type of action is placing out one of your 3 crew members. When taking this action, you're going to choose one of your available crew members and place it on the map on any plane space that is 2 hexes in length that does not include any other player's crew members. So I could technically place my crew member here. Now, if you cover up any spaces that contains an egg, you get to pick up that egg and place it on your player board. Your player board can hold up to 12 eggs, and so when taken, eggs must be placed in numerical order, and if they cover up any bonus spots, then you get to take that bonus immediately. And these bonuses include drawing a card from the creature deck, gaining a resource of your choice, or scoring you a certain amount of points. And if ever you need to take more eggs than you can store, each additional egg past 12 will score you 2 points each. Eggs will be very useful for scoring achievements, which we'll talk about later. Now, like I was mentioning earlier, when placing a crew member, you'll primarily be placing them on these open plane spaces. Although, depending on your asymmetric adventurer, some special abilities will also allow you to place on islands, lakes, or mountains, but you'll never place your crew members on habitats. And speaking of special abilities, over the course of the game, you'll have the opportunity to unlock up to 2 different special abilities that are specific to your adventurer. My Unruly Adventurer here says if I unlock the topmost one, each time your crew captain's placed, I can activate 1 recharge card in my reserve. And the bottom one here says now my crew can be placed on the mountains. So until either of those have been unlocked, my crew captain works essentially the same way as my other crew members. And after placing a crew member, you can then take either 1 resource or a card from the wilderness for each habitat that it's adjacent to. Now in this game, there are 4 different types of habitats, and they each pertain to the types of resources in the game. We have flowers, fruit, coral, as well as mushrooms. And so in this example, my crew member is adjacent to a fruit as well as a coral habitat, which means for this habitat, I can either take 1 fruit resource or I can take a wilderness card from the display that belongs to the fruit habitat, which is going to be either one of these 2 creature cards. And the same goes for the coral habitat, and I can make a different decision for each. Since I already have cards in my hand, I'm just going to take them both in resources, which by the way, on your player board can only hold up to 6 resources each. And that's essentially how the place a crew member action works. Now, crew members will stay on the board until players take a recharge action, which we'll discuss later. The next type of basic action allows you to play a card from your hand. When playing a card into your reserve, you first have to pay the resources shown on the left. So in the case of my Puffron, it's going to be the 2 fruit as well as 2 coral. Then the creature card is placed into a display to the right-hand side of your player board. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to place it below my player board. And if the creature card has the lightning bolt symbol, that means you can activate its ability immediately 1 time. Which in the case of the Puffron, lets me take 1 card from the wilderness and gain 2 resources of its habitat type, which in the case of this card is going to be 2 fruit. Now in this game, creature cards will come in 5 different activation ability types. Some cards provide ongoing abilities that last throughout the entire game. Some creatures are endgame scoring abilities that will provide you with points at the end of the game depending on the criteria presented. Other creatures provide abilities that only activate when taking a recharge action. And other creatures, such as this Lunarling, require the use of energy tokens in order to activate their abilities. When putting these cards into play, you also place 1 energy token for each space that's shown on the card. During the game, you can spend an energy token from the card in order to activate the ability listed. And once it runs out of energy tokens, then you can no longer activate its ability, unless you have a different ability that will allow you to refill its energy tokens. And so as you can see, the creature cards are the engine building aspect of the game. There are a wide variety of abilities that you'll see on these cards, and you'll need to use them strategically in order to win. In addition to playing creature cards into your reserve, the other main way in which players will be scoring points is by taking the next type of action, which is claiming an achievement. Each game, players will be competing in 7 different achievement cards, 4 of which are for having a certain amount of a specific type of species, and 3 of which are for being the first player to be able to reach a certain objective. When claiming a species objective, players will score points depending on how many of that species symbol are in their reserve. In the case of a single species objective card, you'll score 8 points for having 7, 5 points for having 5, or 3 points for having 3. Now it's important to note that players can only score 1 achievement per card, and you can only claim 1 achievement per action. When taking this action, you'll choose one of your achievement markers on the left-hand side of your board and place it on the spot that you're claiming. Now just a couple things to note when claiming these achievements. The first thing is if I don't have enough of those species symbols on my creature cards, I can flip over enough eggs to meet that threshold. And so as an example, here I have 4 mammal symbols. In order to get to the 5 mammal threshold, I would need to flip over this orange egg in order to claim that achievement. Now that I've flipped over that egg token, it's considered hatched, which means I can no longer use it for anything in the future, unless I have a creature ability that allows me to refresh the egg, flipping it over again. These achievement tokens will also gain me a bonus depending on which one I chose, and so these are going to be things like gaining 2 resources, or gaining additional butterfly nets, or maybe refreshing power tokens on a creature card, just to name a few. And finally, claiming an achievement will also gain you one of the trophies on the board, which scores you you 3 additional points at the end of the game. And these trophies, by the way, are the timer for the game. So as soon as all the trophies have been taken, then the game end is triggered and each player gets 1 more turn before the end of the game. Now, achievement cards that show 2 different species icons are claimed the exact same way, except you can meet their thresholds using any combination of the 2 species symbols shown. And finally, we have the bottom 3 achievements that are for being the first player to have 14 creature cards in your reserve, 6 unhatched eggs, or 6 creature cards that belong to the same habitat. If you've met any of these achievements, then you would claim the achievement the same way that you would a species card, but the difference is that you would place your achievement token on the topmost available slot, because it rewards players who are able to do it first. And in the case of the egg achievement, all 6 eggs must be unhatched, and after claiming the achievement, you must then flip over each egg to their hatched side. Now, the last type of basic action is called Recharge. This action allows you to take back all of your crew members and activate any recharge abilities on your creature cards. When taking this action, you bring all 3 of your crew members back from the map, and you progress on the time track. If you are the first player to do so, you also place out the egg placement token that is on that space. This is a way in which you can seed the board with additional eggs from the bag. And when placing eggs on the map, you place them on spaces showing the symbol on the egg placement token, which means eggs will be refilled up to 4 times during the game. But since these eggs are placed face down, you don't know where exactly they'll end up. And after placing eggs on the map, the active player now gets to sweep the wilderness display by choosing either the leftmost 3 cards or the rightmost 3 cards to remove and refill. In addition, the first 3 spaces of the time track also contain 2 habitat tiles. The active player must then choose between the 2 habitat tiles to cover up a corresponding space that also contains a special effect. And we'll discuss how to claim these when we talk about free actions. Once a player's time marker gets to the very end of the track, all of the trophy tokens are discarded from the achievement area, which will also trigger the end of the game. At this point, the active player must now discard their hand down to 5 cards. To be clear, you can have more cards in your hand throughout the game, but when taking a recharge action, you always have to discard back down to 5. And finally, you end your turn by activating any creature cards in your reserve that have a recharge ability. Now, in addition to the basic actions, there are also 3 different types of free actions that you can take as many times as you'd like on your turn. The first type of free action allows you to spend one of your butterfly net tokens to either claim an adjacent egg or activate the special effect of an adjacent tile next to one of your crew members. And so in this example, the red player can spend a net token to take the special effect of this space, which gains them 1 mushroom resource. And special effect spaces will typically either allow you to gain a certain amount of resources that are found in that habitat, or allow you to sweep the wilderness display. And you can gain these butterfly net tokens in a variety of ways, including putting out your achievement marker that gains you that bonus, playing certain creature abilities, or by reaching those thresholds on the score track marker. But keep in mind that players can only hold at most 3 tokens. The next type of free action allows you to spend energy tokens from creature cards that have energy activation abilities. And keep in mind that you can only activate each ability once per turn. And finally, the last type of free action allows you to upgrade your crew. In order to upgrade an ability, you would have had to play at least 2 creature cards into your reserve or claimed 1 achievement. And when upgrading, you slide the marker over, and now that ability is available for the rest of the game. And again, these abilities are going to be dependent on which crew captain you play as. Now, as soon as all trophies have either been taken or removed from the board, then each player gets 1 final turn, and then the game ends, and all players go into final scoring. At this point, players score points for any of their creature cards that show endgame scoring abilities. You'll score the base points of each creature in your reserve. You'll earn points for each of your achievements, as well as 3 points per trophy. And finally, you'll earn 1 point for every 4 resources and butterfly net token. And at that point, whoever has the most points wins. And that is essentially how you play Wondrous Creatures. Now again, this game is currently on Kickstarter, so for more information regarding the game, as well as anything having to do with the campaign, I've included a link to their Kickstarter down below. And also, if you have any questions about anything that you saw here today, please feel free to leave me a comment down below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for watching the video. I really hope it was helpful. If you enjoy content like this and would like to see more in the future, please consider subscribing. Thank you. Bye.